there's no way to know if this is shit until you get the final cut.
Yeah.
Cool.
I
But
love
it can't
that.
be. There's no wrong. It's just a jam. You just make sounds, contradict
okay.
yourself, interrupt people. Like there's no. It's all very loose.
Oh my God, there's a cup holder here.
So we all just did sets.
Yeah.
we did.
We just like all did sets 1, 2, 3, and then like Sarah's set was like 4 minutes ago or something.
Yeah.
It's like okay.
Adrenaline's still pumping.
Yeah, that part. You're like, you came up here and you're like, okay, so it's like really low key, and I'm just like, but I did well, and I'm like, still like, I want to fight somebody.
Yeah.
Adrenaline. Yeah.
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 What's that like for y'all after you like perform? Do you know like stand up late at night after a show, or you get all jacked up?
It depends. I'm at the point where if I do like a 5-minute set here, I'm like, okay, cool. Like I can have a drink and wind down from it. Like no problem. I can't say it was always like that. If I did even remotely well at the beginning, I would be up for 3 days.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I quit hard drugs for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a hard time winding down after.
Yeah.
Even going straight home, I usually like stay up for hours. Like sometimes if I do really well and I'm a little bit tipsy, I'll like re-watch or re-listen to it over and over and over
Yeah,
again and just
yeah.
get really hyped. Like I did it.
Yeah.
But if I do poorly, I just still stay up. I don't know what it is.
Are you up like upset, or are you just like trying to rework the jokes, or just like
It's pep talking.
yeah?
Like, don't give up.
It's so hard not to give up, right?
It's the hardest
it's so
thing.
hard not to give up.
It's the most rewarding thing to not give up, though.
Yeah.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
I would say, to your point about watching it right when you get home,
Yeah.
I've had shit sit in my camera roll for like 3 weeks before I'll even touch it.
Same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'll go like, I can't do that to my power to you. I can't do that to my brain right away.
Because I'm like, I feel good about what just happened.
And
Okay.
I don't want to
There's
know
nowhere
the
to go,
real
but, like,
version.
yeah.
I don't want to know the real version of it.
So even if you do well, you won't touch it for like that long. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. I like that you want to know, because sometimes in the phone, that doesn't pick, everybody says like it doesn't pick up all the laughter, but
It
truly it
doesn't.
doesn't. And so
Yeah.
it can be like
Yeah.
But
discouraging.
my ego definitely does.
Yeah.
And then some.
It is the laughs seem less later, don't they? That's the worst when you're like, I can definitely watch this one because they were laughing a lot, and then I watch it, I'm like, where the fuck?
But I don't have mics like placed throughout the
yeah,
venue.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
Like
It's the
you
lack of
would in like a
mics.
Netflix special, right? Like
Yeah.
I feel like that's a thing.
And they add laughs, I think, too.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hope not, but
mean,
I bet.
is it wrong to
course.
add laughs? I've never done it, but is it wrong?
It feels wrong to my brain
Yeah.
to think about it.
I
but
think in editing, if you're doing several takes for like a special, and so then you have like the continuity. So like people will, I'm assuming, I don't know. I'm thinking people will sometimes pick and choose the clips that they're using, and I'm sure, like, I feel like if it's a laugh that you got on that joke from one of the takes, I'm like, whatever, it's fine.
It's still you got that laugh from them.
I think splicing is
Yeah.
different from adding laughs.
Yeah.
Oh,
'Cause
okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know for a fact,
Yeah.
like Eliza Schlesinger's most recent special, she performed like 2 or 3 nights in that venue.
Yeah.
And they absolutely spliced it.
Okay, so
and
yeah.
I think that's a healthy thing to do for
That's
a
fair.
well-produced special.
Yeah.
But I don't think that, like, it's not like a sitcom in the 90s. Like, you don't need to be zhuzhing it up if it was really
it's not
true.
100% fake. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I have a weird moral thing about that, the idea of that. But
yeah.
I perform at the Music Hall weekly, so.
Sometimes audiences, though, like it's, I don't know. I really liked when I first started. I did watch the Steve Martin masterclass, and I liked when he said like it's a tiny miracle if it goes well in the beginning. So like there's so many factors. The audience is a big factor, and a lot of of course, a lot of people will blame the audience and be like, oh, they weren't cool, and then someone else will go up and murder, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
not
it was
the
me.
Was that you
It was
telling on
me.
yourself?
Oh yeah, but then sometimes it is just like things out of your control. So I do understand if you're doing a special, splicing and
Yeah.
maybe not adding laughter from like a laugh track, but like
Right.
yeah, from your
Or
laughter.
even like if
Yeah.
you like, I just like created this scenario, but I feel like this might be done. I'm not an editor. We started this off by saying,
oh yeah,
we don't edit film, but I feel like it could be a thing to add in the laugh from the night where it really popped, but your wording from a night where you were really confident in the wording.
yes.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That seems fine.
I think that's fine.
The special is kind of, I think, an artificial sort of thing anyway, because I want to do one at some point. Like, everybody's doing their own, so it's like, it's still like, there's so much pressure on that one night, you know?
Yeah.
Like, have you ever seen somebody that you've seen live and it was amazing, and then you see their special and it kind of feels like stiff? Or
Yeah.
I don't want to name names, but I know I've seen that happen sometimes where it's like, that was the one night they had, you know? If you're small time, you don't get like a whole weekend to do it, you know? Like, so...
I argue that there's something to be said about being in the room. Like, I've seen specials that I didn't care for when the person in person was live, but was it because I was right there?
Right.
Like, there is something magic about watching something like that unfold in person.
Yeah, that's what it's meant to be, right? I mean,
Right.
that's like, my dad's always like, oh, all these people on Netflix aren't even funny. And it's like, but if you were there in the room, if they were here and you were there, like,
Yeah.
it'd
You're
probably
eating
be funny.
potato chips and competing with the sound of the TV.
Yeah, you're
like
just judging them from like, you're like lazy boy,
Right,
you're like too
right.
comfortable.
I think there is I am an attendance bias person. I'm a laugher. Things really can tickle me to death, especially if I'm there in person, and I'll watch something when I'm home and I'll be like, I'll find myself having more scrutiny when I'm like, if I was there, this is probably funny. But there's also people that are somehow it is lost in translation on video.
Yeah.
It's really live in person, and then you get them on video and it's like something's kind of it's not the
Missing.
format for them. So yeah, I think it's. I can't imagine being at that point and being like, "Wow, I'm really great," but in video, it's not. That would be terrible.
Yeah.
that would suck.
that is
really
a
bad.
scary thing.
Yeah,
I mean, the opposite would be bad too. If like you saw the special and then you go see them live and it's like worse in person, then
yeah.
I guess it's just good to be good in both if you can. I mean,
I feel like alcohol could be a big contributor to when that happens, when someone has it together for the special and then you go check them out and they are bombed, you know, like drunk, you know?
Yeah. Like, oh my gosh. Did you see recently Nick Swardson's like whole thing? He took an edible, drank a bunch, and then on stage was like rambling. This was in Colorado. He even blamed it on drinking and taking an edible in high altitudes, which I found to be a choice.
yeah.
But
And he's been partying a long time. He should know about altitudes.
You would think.
Crossfaded.
But I think he crossed the line of his own body's boundaries, let's say, and he was just at one point yelling at the audience, and like he was like doing this thing like a lead up to a joke. Oh, so I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it, and then he did it for like an uncomfortably long amount of time, and then people started yelling things at him, and then he started yelling back, and the whole thing completely dissolved to the point of they shut down the stage lights and he was escorted off the
Oh, no.
and is
Thrown
no
out of his
longer-
own show.
thrown out of his own show.
Oh, what could
And
you
I-
possibly be doing that would, you know? Like,
All the people there like bought a ticket with your name on it.
One
like, I
lady
mean,
in one clip, even
and then you
could
still
hear her-
get thrown out of the event.
I can't even. If they were like, "Thank God you got him out of here," it's like, that's what you
Right.
came to see.
Everyone was refunded.
Wow.
And it was 20 minutes into like an hour-long set or something.
Yikes.
What it was
Wow.
supposed to be.
I feel like
Oh,
you have to
no.
come back in a few years and joke about that in order to set it right. I don't know if he,
Yeah,
I
it's
feel
for
like
the
he
bit.
will, like knowing his comedy. Like I feel like he'd just like in 5 years, like be like, yeah, I remember that. Like I don't know, but
it might help, right? All the scandalous stuff. I mean, I don't know how the internet works now, but it's like we're talking about it. It's kind of like it does. We're saying his name. It's like
Yeah,
Right.
I
kind of
mean,
good nowadays.
God, yeah. The like every press is good press thing.
the Lindsay Lohan thing of like, yeah.
I think the
Well,
internet's
they know
proving
who I
it.
am, so what's the fucking difference?
The
Yeah.
name of the game on the internet right now is to trigger people. And like if whatever you post has people arguing under it, you're winning.
Yeah.
And that's like crazy to me. Like I don't know if the people will purposefully like spell things wrong, like on reels. Like they'll
Yeah.
purposefully like do something.
Like comment baiting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually learned that term today.
That's crazy. Yeah, wow.
Like you like make an intentional mistake, so then people come at you in the comments, and then you start getting a thread going. And
And it's like because the insights and the algorithm are fueled by interactions.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you're part of the conversation anymore because
right,
it's still about
you're
you.
giving energy to it, so
Right.
you're
you
feeding the
initiated
algo.
it and it's on your reel. So therefore all those hits, all those numbers, advertisers are like, you're doing something right. Let's give you money. And that's such a scary concept to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like an AI thing I tried, like a free month trial of, where I can like drop this whole video in, and then AI goes through and finds the reels that it thinks will be viral. And I was like experimenting with that, but I know like it's not
I
as...
found that today on the toilet. That's so funny.
I prefer to do it myself, but also I noticed it'd pull out whatever like the most like controversial things we are and spin it that way. And I'm like, I was kind of like, I'm not really trying to promote the podcast by just doing the most clickbaity thing. You know, if I felt like I probably maybe could get more views if I went that route, but it's not really what I'm looking for, you know?
That's exactly what we're talking about, though, where if you do that on the internet and then people show up and then you're you, they'll be like, where's the edgelord of it all?
Right.
You know?
And you have to become that guy.
Yeah, like it's just...
So then AI literally created you.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you
Yeah.
are technically, oh my God.
No, it's Black
You
Mirror.
just broke
It's
my
getting
brain.
crazy. Yeah, it's like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's
Oh my God.
interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I've like just gotten into doing video in the last year, but it feels like it's getting so flooded now. Like this to me is more interesting than posting a video of stand up. I feel like we were talking about how stand up doesn't always translate, but I feel like the conversation is kind of cool. Or I like to watch like conversations. You know
I
what mean?
love
Like,
podcasts for the sake of,
Yeah.
I've always been, like from a young age, let me like rewind to my life. My mom was a very social person. And so she would constantly have her friends over at the kitchen table, like talking until late night. And I was the kid who would always like eavesdrop and be like, oh, I don't want to go to bed yet. This is so juicy.
Yeah,
this
it's just
is so
getting good.
Yeah. And like they're all drinking and playing cards and shit. And I'm just like, fuck. So I'd sit at the top of the stairs just listening. And that's the original podcast for like 90s kids and prior, right?
I like that.
I love
So yeah, there is
that.
something
People
to be said
talking
about
shit.
just
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah, just
like,
being a fly on the wall.
Yeah. Yeah, like I love the difference between what's meant for each format, you know, like what is something that is a topic for stage. Like I have many stories that I feel like wouldn't do as well
Right.
on stage as a joke as they just would like to bamboozle someone's mind in conversation.
Yeah.
I don't even know if bamboozle was the right word. I don't know, blow someone's mind. Because like some of them aren't relatable. And I feel like on stage, like at least for me, like I want to relate. I want people to feel like they get me in some way. And to say like a crazy story, I've always been like, maybe that's for a podcast instead. But I do
Yeah.
like the authenticity of people just like hanging out. It honestly like made me think I could do comedy, listening to comedians talk about not even about comedy. Just like I wanted to be in there, you know, in there like silly conversation.
Yeah, like those clips
Yeah.
of the people in the upstairs of the Comedy Cellar in New York, like
Yeah.
those specials that they've taped, but it's also them at the
Yeah.
bar table, like
Yes.
shooting the shit. I'm like, oh my God,
That's like
to
more
be
the real
there.
them. It's like
Yeah.
the stage person is maybe not as real as the conversation person. You can almost learn more about comedy from podcasts sometimes than like
I
seeing
agree.
the finished product, the special or whatever.
Yeah, I think people do get it messed up though. I think there are people that think that podcast. I know comics that don't watch comedy, don't watch stand up, don't watch specials, and their logic, it makes sense. They're like, I don't want to copy somebody unintentionally, and but I think that like if you get it from both, I personally feel like you need to study comedy. I don't think you need to obsessively study it. I don't think you need to, maybe not like me. I watch stand up a lot, but the conversations make it more accessible where I was just like, it like demystified. You got to see the hang. The hang is so much a part of all of this. Like when I get off stage at an open mic, I get in trouble because they're like, shh. I just want to talk to everybody, you know? It's really like the community side is everything.
It really is.
It's
And I
so
didn't
good.
even know that was going to be the best part about it. I was just like, I want me up there with the jokes and this.
Yeah.
Oh, people, you know? People
Yeah.
It's the best.
Yeah, I'm like a textbook extrovert in the sense that like people really do refuel me. Like being like bopping around to different conversations, like being like the party fairy who's just like, oh my God, like what about you? What about you? What's this conversation? What's going on over here? Okay, I'm gonna go over here. It's just, it gives me life. And I'm grateful to be in a community that's like so welcoming off the bat, because I only got here like a year and a half ago, and I've made so many friends through comedy because I started doing it like a psychopath the same week that I moved here.
I didn't know it was the same week you
I didn't know
moved
that
here.
either,
Wow.
Yeah, I moved here from Boston, and I was walking around downtown just trying to get to know this new place
Boston,
that I'm in.
that's like arguably the comedy capital of the world. You know,
Not when you're doing illicit drugs recreationally and addicted to them and living in a hotel and
Party.
truly with a capital T, girl. Bad times,
Okay,
you know.
yeah.
But basically, I have two family members who I'm grateful for that they live here, and they're like, nothing's keeping you up there. Like, I obviously wasn't accessing the things that I should have been and wanted to be. So I moved here blind and was like, let's see what this is about. I had never been here. I was walking around downtown after a week of being here, like after like 6 days of being here, and I saw the flyer for down here. Cloud was the first person I met. They were hosting that night, and they're hosting tonight. So full circle.
That's crazy.
But yeah,
that's cosmic.
Yeah,
That
true.
is.
Well, yeah, I'm always.
Like, oh, I'm in Nashville and
situations
I'm a
like
comedian
that.
now. This is the new
This is the
chapter.
Yeah, truly. And I'm so happy that I'm still here and doing this and getting to do things like this with really cool people.
Yeah. Wow, Cloud was probably walking around like the Asheville mascot. That's like the welcoming committee, like, hello, friend.
Literally smoking a cigarette outside. I got here right at 6:30,
Love
and they
that.
were like, "Hi, who are you?" Like in that classic Cloud fashion, and I was like, "I'm Alex. I'm new, and I'm scared."
Shout out to Cloud.
Yeah, Cloud
Truly.
is very community minded.
Yeah.
They are coming on the podcast on Friday, or that's the
Oh,
plan.
sick!
Oh, you got something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Hell
Yeah, that's exciting.
So what's it been like? You starting comedy and like I don't know. I always like to ask like how you go about coming up with bits or jokes or just the process of like what's working, what isn't working, what's evolving with that. Like, just
Okay, so how I come up with jokes is I will randomly. So I sit down to write. I will. It's mostly like throughout the day. I am at every beck and call to any idea that I have, to the point where like I'll be like. I will be falling asleep, and it is like, it's torture in a way. It's great to have it, but it's like, it's also torturous to be falling asleep and being like, if I don't write this down right now, I'm going to forget it. And
Yeah.
I've been like, I've woken myself up multiple times. So like, when the spur of the idea is a lot of it is just like, I have so many unhinged videos of me talking just into the phone, just like, threesomes, am I right? If you have it, and it's like, I look.
Because it's easier than writing it down.
Yeah, and friends will be like, you should just post those. And I'm like, oh, no, never.
that's not my thing, but those videos tend to sometimes do well. I mean,
know.
it's interesting that you use video though, because I do voice memos. I never even thought about doing
The face,
the selfie.
the I think the context of like
because that's part of the delivery. Is
the
the joke
state
is
that I'm in
Yeah.
is being betrayed. I don't know.
Gotcha. Yeah, you can like see kind of more like what you're feeling. It's not just the words.
I'll be getting ready, and then I'll be like doing like so many things with my hands when I'm like, and I'm like, okay, that's that. I have, I think a part of the hard part is tapping into, I think it's acting, where you have to like go back into the headspace that you were in when you wrote the joke,
Yeah.
instead of just trying to apply it to your current mood. And so I think it is helpful to have the video so I
Yeah.
can be like, oh, I was unhinged. My hair was
Yeah.
wet. I was like,
you get more of a feel for like the energy of the joke.
so that's definitely how I do sit down like an actual job and attempt to like pull things manually, but most of the time I'll be like in the car or I'll be like doing something and just like all day just writing. It's like a maniac's manifesto in my phone. So I need to back all of that stuff up really bad.
Yeah, that's a really good thing to do.
Yeah, I need to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
I tend to write the long form version of a joke first, or a thought, and just go with it. And it's like just nonsensical prose in a notebook. And I do have two different notebooks. One is for like set lists and refined ideas, and the other one is for vomit. And I think you need to honor your vomit and
Yeah.
start there.
you got to do that at Root Bar, save the vomit.
No, and that's the first place
There's
I'll
mics
go.
for that.
No, and that's the first place I'll go too. Is I'll hopefully, like if my schedule allows, I'll go to a place like Root Bar, and I'll like try out the long form version of it, and then I'm like, I don't like how that felt. That's not how I felt when I wrote it. So I can appreciate that you do that with yours and just like videograph yourself, because it is like acting. It is a lot like acting, I will say.
Do you have an acting background too? I know you do.
No,
right?
high school.
Theater background.
High school, but I've been doing a lot more of it lately. So
Yeah.
it is like coming to me in a way that I feel good about.
Yeah, because I never did any theater, but I noticed that's a common theme in this community. A lot of people music. I'm from music. You're from music too, right?
No,
you seem like a musician.
I used to fancy myself a rapper, not seriously, but I always wanted to be a performer. But like I did adult content creation, and there you got to do a lot of acting.
Of course.
So yeah, I had that, which adds to the confidence factor of it all. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, people would just be like, "What did you do before this? Like, you seem so confident." And I was just like, "You don't want to know, or maybe you do."
Yeah, for me, it's like I'm gay and was bullied in high school. That's why I'm confident now.
I had to joke my way out of it. Did you use
Yeah.
All
humor?
the math
Yeah.
checks out. You know, that just makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does. Yeah.
That I was bullied. Would you have bullied me?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying, right?
That you would
No, I hear
wind
you.
up in comedy after the things you said you experienced.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Theater kid who was bullied for being gay.
I would not have bullied you.
All right, thank you.
I would have bullied both of you.
Yeah, that's fair.
I would have let
I'm
you.
just kidding. I'm just kidding. I only bullied one person. I won't name her name. I feel sorry for her because we all learned about autism relatively recently, and I'm like, ooh, was that? That was bullying, I think. Shout out to initials are JH if you're watching this. I'm sorry.
Josh Hutcherson? I can't believe you bullied him for being autistic. That's fucked up.
That is a really cool idea, though. Like doing the video, like trying to capture the energy. I never really thought about that. Sometimes
Well,
I'll
'cause
put like
you're tapping it
in the
back
brackets,
into like the
Yeah.
organic,
right,
like
yeah,
blossoming of a feeling.
because that is like some percentage of the performance is like your energy in your body. Right? I think like it depends on the type of comic you are. I've always been more like words and writing, but now I'm trying to get more into like being alive and. I don't know, you know,
Moving.
being present. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like terrified to go off script for a long time, so I'm kind of
Really?
just now trying to get like crowd work and I'll have a half finished joke and try to finish it on stage. I don't know. Do you guys tend to like kind of know the words you're gonna say, or do you kind of leave room for like riffing? Or
I find I get bored of my own material if I do treat it like a script. I do want to tap into the organic feelings of why I think it's funny, but my lead-in will have to change, or I'll like do a little like point at the person in the audience if it's relevant to the thing I'm saying in order to gain the energy to lead into a next thing. Because again, my thing is about connectivity. Because also, if I'm not connecting with an audience, I'm not going to connect with my own material. I don't care like what anyone says. I know I won't. But
it should be a conversation, and that's what I like about this is I feel like we're practicing conversation, and it's not that much different than like with the audio. I mean, it's different, but it's like it's still a version of a conversation. Like this is kind of practicing what we did downstairs a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah.
It's a theory I have. We're just seeing if it's true.
Because like
we'll
you're still
see.
trying to like maximize. You're just still trying to like make sense. You
Yeah.
know, like sometimes
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I'll have like a disconnect between like what I'm thinking and how it's said, and so I think if you're having like a conversation, you can like witness people's, like we could run things that we end up using later because we see each other's responding well to it.
Right.
I think with the taking the videos thing, another pro I realized was that you can see yourself talking about it, and then little do you know, you're getting more ideas by watching yourself tell the joke before it's a fully formed joke. You can kind of get more excited by the way you look. Like it's like I will hype myself up unintentionally just by looking at myself telling the story, and I'm like, yeah, look at you, yeah.
Yeah, and I'd
You
equate
see?
that to like a self-reflective version of like, I'm sure you both experienced this when a comic, either one or one who's huge, like is talking, you're like, oh, I would tag it with this, and then like you think of the next thing to bring it to the next level. So you're saying you do that for yourself.
Yeah, you're like watching yourself pitch a bit.
I'm so jealous.
And yeah, and so then you're doing that.
I don't
Yeah.
do that enough.
Yeah.
That is cool.
I do it for a lot of other people and then keep it to my fucking self. But
It takes up a lot of storage on the phone. That's the only like
same here.
downside. But I I back it up. I need to back up my notes though.
Do you ever go back into the notes, or you just want them in case you do? Like, do you ever go back to like a year ago? And
Ooh, not that far. I should though, because there are some that I think I could read. Some of my earliest stuff I wasn't ready to do.
yeah, that's
you know?
that's like there's certain themes that come up on here with like multiple people, and that's one of the big ones. Is like you have an idea that you haven't learned how to, you haven't like grown into the comic that can tell that joke yet, but like maybe next year or the year after you can come back and like do it. But that's exciting.
It's fun to look through old stuff.
Yeah, like I didn't have the skills to pull off that topic, but maybe now I can.
And then you forget that you forgot about it until you remember.
Yeah. And the podcast helps with that stuff too. Like I'll remember things more, you know.
That's good.
Yeah.
What about you? How do you write?
It's always changing.
You have a dictaphone.
Is that?
Oh, I
don't know what that is.
I misinterpreted what that is.
I think that's what like they used to call just like a voice recorder.
I thought it was like a Wi-Fi controlled sex toy.
I do voice memos, but I seldom like listen back. I guess lately it's like if I can kind of feel excited, then that's good. But it's I'm trying to be more loose on stage, to have just like a bullet point and try to find the punchlines, but. Like I'm going to do a whole bunch of new stuff tomorrow night at Kava Bar, so I'm experimenting with writing on the topics that I haven't done before, and then like trying to write descriptive words and just like ideas, but then go up and just try to just see what happens. It might not work, but that's what I did tonight. It was like all new stuff that I'd kind of like not done before, but I'd written on it. It's like I got to talk with Cody and Petey, so like a lot of like this podcast has really started to influence. Like it's broadened the ways I can prepare, and now I have the video thing that you said. So it's like I'm kind of starting to like bring that stuff in for a few, and then see if that works. So I have like these new tools for preparing, and that's exciting. Yeah, because I've been kind of narrow with the ways I've prepared.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
I feel like here you can be loose with it. I wonder at Kava Bar though, because the silence can be so deafening.
I know. I'm trying to be like just
have a way out. That's the one I heard comics talking about, like have a way in and have a way out, but then do whatever in the middle. It's not like having a way out is just like whatever punchline is gonna hit you think the hardest.
Sort of like how you ended your set tonight.
Yeah, I was just like, I don't have a way out of this, and I got a huge
really
laugh.
That was really fun. Sometimes that like the having no backup is the backup. Yeah. Like
knowing when to lean into that and not to like attempting to scramble has been a tough one.
It's honest. It's relatable. Honest. It's like everybody knows that feeling of like
Yeah, I got heckled tonight. Kind of.
Yeah.
I was like,
that was weird.
I just got laid for the first time.
You handled that beautifully, though.
Like, what are you doing
comeback
here,
with like you had like 3 in a row that like he didn't even respond, but you were just like this and then this, and you weren't supposed to tell anyone that it was me. Like that was awesome.
That was really exciting. It doesn't happen to me very often. I feel like some comics, I truly feel like you get heckled unfair amounts. I don't fully get it. I don't know why.
I do leave more pauses, and I think that's the one thing I'm really trying to do is leave pauses, because I was so terrified that they would yell stuff out or I'd forget, just to leave those spaces and trust that like we can all work through it together. Yeah. And most heckles are just like people just wanting to be fun, and so I'm trying to like leave. Maybe it's the pauses. Maybe I'm just like heckleable. I don't know.
I think it's something I think that's a part of a character that could even be like, my problem with some of the people is that I want people to lean into the things that I feel like make them a character, and sometimes people don't want to hear that they're being a character. You know what I mean?
Yeah. How do you guys feel about that? Are you guys characters? Are we characters? Or
I lean into things.
I feel like I'm pretty much the same guy, but maybe I exaggerate. I mean, I'd like to be more of a character. Like I would like to be more like Hillary or Cody, where it's like I can crank the cartoon energy up. Like so I am trying to do that, but I don't really feel like there's more I can do to crank that dial of like just vocal variety and like.
Yeah, but you're not goofy. Yeah. And I feel like that could be some people's turning up the character is turning down. You know what I mean? It's like the awareness of like who you want to be and are. I don't know.
Like you can do it wrong. You mean?
Yeah, like I leaned a little too far into the like. Yeah, sometimes, and then I feel myself being like, okay, is that authentic? It is, but it's like there's a way to like be authentic and then also like amp it up, like the saturation on it. Yeah. You know?
I think anybody would be fooling themselves if they said they are 100% themselves on stage.
I think you're right. Yeah.
I mean, but like,
I don't. That is to say, I think we all operate on different frequencies, and within that, like different thresholds of that frequency. I would say, like, mine might be from me to me on stage is like this big, but I think like you from you to this on stage is like this big.
Right.
And that is fine because I think if we saw you get up to that level, we'd be like, is Ryan okay?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
This is not what we wanted.
Yeah, like,
it's too much.
but also that's not to say don't not try everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm also a menace, and I kind of now want to see you be crazy.
I mean, I kind of think like your true self is sort of not really an absolute thing, that we kind of are these different.
Absolutely.
But I mean, like I am like the dude that I am with my family. I don't go out and like do things that are like contradict that, but it's like I'm definitely a different person when I'm like reading to my kids than when I get up and do a comedy show. So it's kind of like what is the real you? I think there's different us's in different chapters of our life and in different communities. So it's like this can kind of be a place to like be more of a something I can't be at my day job or as a dad,
Yeah.
like my true self maybe could be the stage self in some ways, that in a way that I can't be my true self when I'm at like a PTA meeting at school or whatever,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I get what you're saying, and your life is a lot different than mine.
Yeah.
Given that I am single, gay, in my 30s, and live in Asheville newly still.
So jealous.
No, right. I mean, I don't
Killing
blame
it.
you. I'm jealous of myself.
do whatever
some
the fuck you
days.
want.
I literally can. And when you say
I can
things
do
like
nothing. I
that,
can
when
do-
you say things like that, I do realize how lucky I am. But also, I'm sure you're very grateful.
Yeah,
for
I
all
mean,
that you
it's
have.
crushing responsibility, but it's also
Right.
like, I mean, I do all this weird stuff. I have good sets and bad sets, but I have like a consistent, loving family. So I mean, I do at this stage of my life, I like it.
course.
I like this,
But you
um,
say these things, and it makes me realize, like, oh my God, I've carved out so much space in my life to just be myself all the time. I don't have the PTO meetings.
Yeah.
I work at a job where my employers are like, yeah, you're a freak, be a freak.
Yeah.
I audition for plays where people encourage me to I'm newly doing improv as of next month, and like
you're living the dream. This
so
is-
I'm
you're
truly
peaking.
like I'm carving out space for me to only allow myself to be myself.
Yeah.
And I feel very lucky for that, I'm realizing. So thank you for helping me realize.
You're welcome. Yeah. I thought of another thing too when we were talking about like preparing for shows, that like I really like to have like a long show that I'm preparing for. Like we were talking about Coffee Bar. Like I'm like fully aware that it might just be shouting things into a void. It might be so bad.
what
I
I
might just
love
lose
about
all.
it.
I'm excited now, but like 5 minutes in, I might just lose all confidence and feel that sweat in the back of my neck. But like having a thing to prepare for is really good, even if the thing's shitty.
Mm-hmm.
Like I did like the Boiler Room last year, and it was like, I don't know if you've been to those shows, but it's often a hard show to be good. But like for the month leading up to it, I was like, I get to do 40 minutes. So I'm like drawing charts and practicing my jokes and working on different chunks at the mic. So even if the end show sucks, just having the goal to work towards, it kind of makes you like raise your game, like just having like a long set or something that you need to do. I really like that. Like after tomorrow, I need to like get somebody to book me to do another long one, just so I have
So
that
is
goal.
tomorrow 40 minutes?
Well, I'm like committing to do at least 30. Because I've seen people sometimes be like, I did 45. It's like, yeah, but it was so uncomfortable, and everyone wanted to leave, and you made them stay. So I won't do that to people, but I'm hoping we can get into the
I think it's
the 40
good
range.
to know where you're at.
Yeah, and I've done that place. You mean like where I'm at, like which room I'm in? Or
No, I think it's good to know where you're at with like
how much time you want to do?
like how much time you should be doing.
Yeah, like,
I
aware that-
recently broke into 15 zone, and I'm still feeling like about it. Like one of the first ones I did was at a gay bar in Atlanta, so I got lucky because I was like, oh my people, like finally all the stuff I've been working out in front of all these like varying but slightly less queer and less gay crowds in Asheville. It's like, okay, well, I need to trust myself. And then I went there and I was like, oh, good.
Validation.
They're out there,
Did you feel like it could have maybe gone the other way? Like,
absolutely.
yeah, you're like,
absolutely. Because we're judgy.
Yeah, right.
we are a
Yeah.
judgy people. So if we don't like you, we will make sure you know. Even if like,
wouldn't that have been horrible if you had
like,
gone and like
silent
bombed in
glares,
front of?
yeah, what else? But all that's to say, I bombed my first 15, which wasn't the Atlanta. I lied. It wasn't my first 15, but my first 15, I felt like I bombed. And then I went to Atlanta, and now tomorrow I'm doing another 15, and I recently broke there from like 10, 12 zone. And I've been a year and a half, and I won't do 20. If someone gave me 20 tomorrow, I'm not going to do it. That would be dumb of me.
Yeah, that's
And
how that's how I
recognize
was
that.
too. I was
And
like
Petey
very
even
small.
complimented me on that recently in conversation. I was like, Petey, I would never. And he's like, good for you.
Yeah, Petey knows what he's talking about, but that's great advice. Like, I mean, it's better to go crush 10 somewhere than like do a week 20 and then
Then eat shit for 20.
yeah, and then
like,
you might get invited back if you do a
watch
strong
that video
10.
back on loop. You won't sleep that night. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
no. How
yeah.
long have you been doing comedy?
I started doing like funny stories on stage like 10 years ago, like almost to this month, but I started stand up like 8.5.
I
But the
like
pandemic
the
definitely-
self-awareness in that answer.
The pandemic really like it's tough because
years
like
were-
I mean those do you count? I mean it's
Yeah.
weird because like do you count that you were a comic?
Yeah, we're
I
all
I think
counting
we all
it. We're all
agree that
counting
nothing
it, but-
counted during that time.
Yeah, but
Shit.
nobody's going. I started this year, and now it's this year, and I'm going to subtract 2 or 3. So we're all just saying that.
I love that I honestly sometimes I'm like I'm glad people that started right before the pandemic have to tack on those years and they're like yeah I've been doing it for 2 years. I'm like ooh doesn't seem like it. Ooh. I like that I don't know. I wish I started earlier. Don't get me wrong.
Same.
Like starting at 30 something is ooh I don't know.
Can I ask? Like, I started like I was like 35 or something. So I
Okay.
started super late. You know?
Yeah, 31, I guess. I'm going to be 33 this year, and I've been in it for a year and I guess 4 months, something like that.
I think I might remember. Like, was one of your first sets at Root Bar?
It was here. Well, one of the first sets was at Root Bar. Yeah, I brought a guy that like wouldn't get. He like did comment. He saw that I did it. He was a friend. And he was like, I want to go. And I was like, cool. And then he did like 10 minutes. And Hillary was like flashing it. Like, she was like, no, I'm just kidding. She was flashing him with the phone. And yeah, I was like, this is embarrassing.
And then you got up after the guy that
I went up before him. And
before.
he still didn't get, I don't know. People, y'all, it looks so easy. It looks really easy. And it is the most rewarding if you just stick to it. But it is not easy. He never did it. I mean, he never did it again after that.
Yeah, because I think I might remember, like, I used to go to Root Bar every Sunday, and I think that was the first time I saw you do comedy. And I think it was probably one of your first times, but
Yeah.
you seemed like really, like, I was like, oh, I thought maybe you'd done comedy somewhere else before or something. You seemed like just energetic and fun and comfortable.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was
Yeah.
like so terrified just to be like talking, like, for a while, just like trying to stand there and hold the space and talk was like really terrifying.
I felt like I
for a
killed my
while.
first set, and it was here, and it did go well. It got a lot of laughs just because I talked about like the work that I do, and people were like referencing it all night. They're like, "Oh yeah, OnlyFans girl," like, and, all the other comics were going on stage. So I was like, I thought I like made a big splash, and then I watch it now, and I'm like, dude, some of these jokes rule, but this is not. I like thought I was sending it to people. I sent it to my family, and I'm like, I don't even let them come to my shows now,
Yeah.
and I like they would be really proud of me now, but like. Yeah, so
There is a blind confidence that comes with doing
Yeah.
okay as a new person.
You have to be delusional. I mean, I think to some degree I still am. It's like if
I'm
you
so
you
delusional.
have to
I
kind
wouldn't
of
keep
you
doing
have
it
to
if I
just
weren't.
believe that it's like better than it is some of the time because it is just
Well,
Yeah.
otherwise, why would you
it's
come back?
such a slog. Yeah, so I think that's just kind of part of it.
there is a beautiful place right between delusion and being like in reality, like and honestly like self-deprecatingly
Delusion
so
and earned
like
confidence.
yeah
The sweet spot
I
where they-
oscillate a little too much so
That's funny.
sometimes I leave here and I'm just like here honestly is one of the best open mics ever. I feel like
Yeah.
I don't
Oh,
know
yeah.
if we're spoiled or what, but
This is the greatest open mic of all time. People from like all over the place come and they're like, "Why is there a packed crowd of people that aren't comics here?"
it's
The
insane.
sound is good. They have the light, the music. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, something like this, because like what can happen is you can start in a place that has regular open mics and then do poorly, and then realize that like that's not a good gauge for like a real audience that aren't just comics,
Yeah, yeah.
So like we have a real like finger on the pulse of like, are you good or not? Can you do well here?
Yeah.
Can you consistently write your own jokes?
and can you stay growing?
And yeah,
Yeah.
doing well at Root is great. And it does mean something to do really well in a small room. I find I struggle in like some small rooms that are like comedy club actual looking,
Yeah.
So I'm working on being able to connect in a smaller room because I just feel so like big in like a big room. But I hear all the comics are like, yeah, low ceilings is the way to go. And I'm like, ooh, I haven't conquered the low ceiling room yet. I didn't know that came second. You know,
That's really funny. I don't think I've heard that at all.
Yeah.
I like it compressed, like jammed, like as much like an elevator as possible. Low ceilings, like compressed. But
I've seen you do amazing in intimate settings. You're a really good comic for that, and that is an
thank you.
intimidating thing because you are forced to make eye contact with people, and a lot of people have a problem with that. But I've seen you thrive in those spaces, and I admire
you.
that.
And the
Like,
nature of that
thanks.
might be why also people heckle you too, because they feel like they're in the room. They
'cause
feel
you're so
ve-
heckleable.
I mean, I don't
I
get
can bully
it.
this guy.
I don't
And he's
get
right
it.
there. I can just tell him to his face.
I'll say it.
I'll kick his ass afterwards
I
if he has a
don't.
problem.
I'm not saying I think it's a good or bad thing. It's something I watch everybody's comedy. Yeah. Even though I love to socialize, I do watch
Yeah.
everybody's
You
stuff.
can learn
will
so
take
much from
time.
it. You can learn so much from it.
Yeah.
Because I don't really watch a lot of specials. I mean, I kind of like influenced. I mean, I don't think I'm like ever taking jokes from anyone or anything, but I am kind of influenced by our scene, and I kind of take pride in that. I think Asheville has its own.
Yeah, and that can be studying
Comedic.
comedy. Can be in person. I mean, you don't have to
Yeah.
sit and watch specials, but I don't know. Maybe I was being a little. I just think like some people that like don't watch any comedy.
Oh, yeah.
I do wonder like how maybe it's I don't know. Maybe it's just natural talent. Maybe you don't have to, but I don't know.
Well, it's like someone who
Yeah.
never listens to music. I think it's a little bit like devolved sounding, but like trying to sound evolved is like, oh, I don't listen to comedy. I don't watch comedy, even though
Yeah.
I only want to do that with my life. Like
Yeah.
you're kidding yourself if you're gonna sit there. Like Michael Jackson didn't never listen to music.
yeah.
Like
Yeah, I think there's like in
Otis
general.
Redding never didn't listen to music. Like
Yeah.
that would be insane. He
Yeah.
didn't pick up a guitar one day
Yeah.
and go, you know what? This
Yeah.
comes naturally. That's not how
He
anything
knew that,
works.
yeah, what came before him. I think you can be an outsider, and that can work, but it's like more rare. That's what I think. Like,
Absolutely.
in general, you should know like some things, but I would rather listen to like my favorite comedy album 100 times than listen
Yeah.
to it. So
That's
I'm
fair.
more like I like to go over and over and like know every beat rather than like try to watch all the new specials. You know what I
Totally.
mean?
And there's some people that obsess over the new like I do like some of the like a lot of the new comics and I do like to keep up with them and watch their podcast, but I also know that can be so corny too when I will talk to somebody that thinks that there's people that like will approach you after and they'll be like, bombing's just part of it. And I'm like, do you do comedy? And they're like, no, I just like know a lot
I know.
about
Yeah,
it.
everybody
And I'm
feels like they are hanging out with comics.
you're a pro, man. Why don't you sign up? You
Yeah.
know? Like,
Yeah.
So like there is that like annoying level to where like people are just studying it and they're fans and then they
Right.
like think that they know more than I have
Is
guys.
it often men?
Yeah,
I'm just guessing.
guy friends will text me
Yeah.
and they'll be like, "Oh God, yeah, I
Let
have
me
a
just mansplain the thing that you're actually
Yeah,
doing.
like,
and then they don't
literally.
listen to me, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I was on stage like 7 times this week, but you won't take the. I don't know. It's interesting.
That's
yeah.
really frustrating,
It's
I
so
imagine.
annoying.
Yeah, that's real. That's shitty.
But then there's also like, people that are like, I do comedy, but I will never watch another comedian perform. And I'm like, that's weird. Like, do you not like this thing that you're doing? Or are you just the man?
Yeah.
You know?
And
Like-
especially if you're not great at it, it's like, then it's like, you should probably check out some.
You should probably watch
I wanna
anything
just-
that has even a laugh track.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went to like school for photography and like I went to art school, I guess. So we did like critiques.
Yeah.
And you learn art history. So I guess that's also a part of the
Well,
way I look
totally.
at it.
Yeah.
You
Those
know?
are peer reviews done
Performance art.
by peers who are doing the same thing as you. That
Yeah.
sounds more like a workshop that we do
Yeah.
than it does sound like
Unqualified.
a bro in an art museum going up to you. You could have reframed that differently.
My
Like,
3-year-old could have done that.
I don't like the way that's centered on the canvas. Your composition is shit. Like,
Yeah, cool story, bro. What art school do you go to? I don't know.
my dad had a camera when I was a kid.
yeah.
But yeah,
It's
that's
fun.
interesting thinking about like studying art and does that count? Because I've done music for so long, and I do in my mind it's like it gives me some help. I've been writing songs before comedy, so it's like I'm not totally new to this, but that might just be me rationalizing starting in my mid-30s. But I feel like maybe you can pull from other discipline. If it's a performance art and you're writing and performing it, maybe you could like add a few years based on that.
Yeah,
You know
I
what
think
mean?
music probably helps a lot. Like thinking
Rhythm,
of how to write a
timing,
song. Yeah,
structure.
beats.
Yeah,
I mean,
beats.
literally, like
it's a lot of the same.
Knowing what a crowd
tone,
wants.
just
Yeah.
like
is,
getting
like,
the
a
right
big
tone.
part of it,
yeah,
I imagine, right? Like,
and
yeah,
like
they are.
music
it
is the space
math.
between the notes. Like
Yeah.
between the jokes are like the comedy's actually between the syllables too. The
Yeah,
pause.
it's like dark energy.
Yeah, yeah.
It has. I think I loved hip hop, and I always liked to like be a rapper, but like I knew like I didn't know the anatomy of a song. But then I didn't love when I would watch then I would watch comedians hang out on podcasts, and it was so worth it to learn the anatomy of a joke.
Yeah,
because I felt like that was my future community. Was actually comedians.
So this was like pre-training training.
Yeah, podcasts were like, okay, so I don't know what makes a joke, but like I feel like I could hang with these guys, and like
Right.
they or like these
And keep
girls,
up.
and they would like I feel like we're of the same ilk in a lot of
Okay.
ways, you know.
See, I don't feel like I can keep up at all. I feel like I'm very slow, and comedians like so fast, and I'm just trying to like kind of be the. Maybe you can be slow enough to be funny. You know what I mean?
Well, you're like rock and roll with your in Asheville. Like you being so well adjusted with a family is like punk rock.
Yeah, I know what you
know?
mean. It does kind
It
of
is very
stand out.
alt.
Yeah,
Like you
Yeah.
don't have any tattoos.
I'm
or
like
anything?
kind of a little bit diversity, not really, but you know, like more than I was like 10 years ago when I was just like a non-family guy. I don't
That's
know.
funny.
I'm gonna edit that out where I say I'm
No,
diversity.
no,
Don't do
don't
it.
edit it.
I always say
No.
that, but then I don't edit it out. But just saying, I know
I've heard you
should
say it
edit
before,
out.
and yeah, it didn't happen. Yeah,
I'm gonna
Yeah.
listen to that part over and over again, just knowing
it's gonna
you
be my
didn't.
text tone. I'm gonna edit it out.
No, but yeah, you are like you've got a market cornered here.
Dads.
Yeah.
Just being like relatable. You know, tonight was a mixed age crowd and a mixed crowd in general. I thought
Tonight was actually,
Well,
and that's what I will say about the fact that I went, you went right off the top of the show.
Yeah.
Because I am not always everyone's cup of tea, and I'm not everyone's cup of tea right away.
Yeah, see, that's me. Like the odd is like the older I get, and the more of a dad I become, the
Right.
more
I don't
the more
mind starting
I
at
used
the
to be
odd.
that type of person, and now it's like so. There's different. Like, what is a real audience? You know, like I noticed early on that like clubs like was more clubby. Like it's more alt now than it was when I started.
Sure.
And clubs tend to be like people that are my age or older. They have enough money to buy like a ticket, and like I do well with them because I can talk about my kids and stuff like that. But then like going to the odd, I mean, like I think comedy is really changing, and there's all these new ways to do it. So I'm interested in like learning how to be weirder, you know, and not just be like set up punch club comic, because I think that's going to be like really old timey soon. You know what I mean? Like
Maybe. I think it's coming back to it though, because Dave Attell has a new special that just came out today, and it's very much I mean, he doesn't have a podcast. This whole thing is like I'm the only comedian on earth that doesn't have a podcast.
Yeah.
And he does the setup punchline, just very like old school. I think people are going to get tired. There's always an overcorrection, so I think there's that you going for like a classic way is sick. I think like I'm trying to add more of those setup punchlines in between the long rants of craziness and
I'm trying to add more of the rants of craziness and like I'm a weird person.
No, don't do that.
Because one thing, like it's interesting when talking about how we see each other, because I never know how anyone sees me, but I've noticed like on this podcast, a lot of comedians are like, well, a comedian has to be like an outsider. Like the very first thing is it has to be some crazy person on the. I was like, oh shit, really? Well, that means I'm fucked because I never even thought of that. But since I've heard that idea, I have been seeing it that there is something about like your first joke is like, here's my fucking thing that makes me an outsider, and then I'm talking crazy shit, and I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of like pretty inside the. I don't know how I wound up being like this guy, but you know, like. I feel like, do I need to, you know, find weirder shit? So
maybe sprinkling in
yeah.
just like salt, you know, like the awareness of some weird like Gen Z topics that you can use in a way that's very you. I like you feel very authentic right now, but of course there's probably a way to like flavor town it up. Maybe
I think it could actually add to like I like that could be the thing is like, oh, Ryan is like the dad. He's telling us a story right now, and this is in real time during a set. Like, oh, wait, what the fuck did you just say?
Yeah.
Like, and I think that
Yeah.
has marketability within it.
Yeah.
If you find
It's its own
that
joke.
way
you
to
shatter
create
your
that
own
rhythm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you kind of create this like illusion
Yeah.
of what you are, and then you can shatter it a little bit
Exactly.
at times.
Like
Yeah.
I've done halfway through a set, I've been like, anyway, guys, my name's actually Mike, and I'm straight. I love eating muff. And like people are like,
Yeah, I like James Herod can say just a cuss word And that is a punchline.
it seems like your youth
That is
pastor
all he
just
has
like
to say.
went
Two of his jokes
off.
end that way, and it always works. You know?
And it's because
he
it's
just says
this
set up,
character.
fuck.
You know, he probably says fuck way more often in real life, but he knows the character. He leans into like the
He gives Steve
sports.
from Blue's
Am I
Clues
right?
vibes. Like
Ooh.
in the
James
best
is so
way.
funny. I'm so sad he's leaving. We started like right in the same few months. So he's
Really?
been, like,
Really?
yeah.
Oh.
So it's weird. Like this community, there's people that's like I'm like 10 years older than him, but we're kind of like comedy.
Yeah,
you know, like
classmates.
siblings. Yeah, and then like
Yeah.
Did
Cody's
you
like
know
10
that
years
we
younger than me. But
started,
he's like
like,
my
within-
comedy like big brother in a way. It kind
Yeah.
of transcends age.
Were
It
you aware
does.
when you asked both of us that we started it like within the same 2 months?
I knew I hadn't thought of it that much. I know that you guys like vibe well together, and
Yeah.
I wanted to have you both on. So, but
We call each other comedy siblings.
I was curious to ask, but I didn't want to be like confronted. Like, how long have you guys been? But has it been like about a year and a half each?
Like
Yeah.
September of last year.
Because
Yeah.
you guys
Yeah,
like have hit a lot
November.
of mics too, right? Like
Yeah.
when I started, we only had the Odd and this one, and then
Oh,
so you
wow.
could only do at most like 2 a week. That's like 100 a year. But now you can like
Based on how people talk about it,
Stack
yeah,
'em
we
up.
are spoiled.
yeah,
Yeah.
but also it's like if you I've seen people try to burn out, so it's
Yeah.
like now you got to be careful. You start doing 5 nights a week and then you just lose your mind.
Well, because
Yeah.
then when a booking comes and you're still doing those 5 nights, it's like, well, what's it for? You're already run out of gas. Like
Yeah.
now you have to do a longer set
Yeah.
in front of people who paid you to be there.
Yeah,
I
they paid.
Don't look up.
I used to think if I missed a mic that I was risking my entire future in comedy. I used to be like, the grind culture is real. You'll hear it on the podcast. They'll be like,
Yeah.
keep going, go up as much as you possibly can. But then like the burnout is also real, especially if
Yeah.
you're doing it in the same city that's not a huge city. So I think like the skipping, like I haven't gone up since last Thursday, and I was like, wow, I had all of this time off, and then I felt fresh as a daisy today, and it worked. And then sometimes you take too long, and yeah, you have to get your footing back. But
Getting out and living life a little, I think, can be good. I
Oh,
took
yeah.
like 2 or 3 months off like 2 years ago, and then I came back. That's when I really was like, I'm gonna get booked out of town. I'm gonna like getting that space away. But there was that voice in my head that's always like, if you don't go up this week, other people are gonna get up, and you're gonna get worse. And it's like that's
they'll forget
it's
about
very
you.
unhealthy.
Like-
but
Yeah.
that voice is always there. Yeah, they're gonna forget. Like no one after a month, no one will remember who I am, and it's like that's not good self. That's not even a good reason to
You'll
go.
come back to the bookers in town and they'll be like, sorry, are you
You've
new?
been replaced.
Like,
we have a
yeah.
new dad who sprinkles in more weird
Yeah.
shit.
Alex shaved his head and now he's you.
Fuck.
I knew I should have been weirder and gayer.
I come here and I'll be like, ugh, I might not even go up tonight. I say that almost. I'm like, it's fine.
That's the biggest mistake you can make.
I might not even go up tonight. It's fine. And then I do, and it rules. And I'm like, I can't believe I almost didn't do that.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Sitting in a
I've-
show you're not on but could have easily been on and it was a choice not to be is frustrating.
Yeah.
It's very
Sometimes it's
frustrating.
good. I'm sure.
I get itchy.
Yeah.
I've never done it. I've thought about it 100 times.
You're
but
like,
I've
I don't
never
go
done-
if I'm not going up.
Yeah, sometimes it's like when you haven't
Very
been put up and
responsible.
it's been so long, and then you're like, well, it's weird to leave. It's like passive aggressive to leave now, but then it's
It's like codependency.
Yeah.
Trust me. I've seen passive aggressive. I don't even think you could present passive aggressive.
yeah,
Ryan.
it's more just my own
yeah, the voice.
thoughts about it. Yeah, the
voice.
voice. Yeah, so I mean, do you guys have a target? Like I do. I'm like crazy organized with my time because I have a lot of shit. So I do like 3 nights a week, So I
Okay.
like every Sunday night with Emily. I'm like, here's the 3 nights I'm doing it. She totally supports that. That's amazing. So that's like it's like 150 reps a year,
Okay.
I think more would be better, but that's just like what I can do for my
Yeah.
comedy journey with like. But do you all do you just like go? I'm gonna go tonight if I feel like it because I would never go if I was like, do I feel like going? I'm always tired and I hate comedy like right before I go, and then when I get home I come like skipping down the walkway,
I know.
so happy. Even when I
Right.
bombed, I'm like, I did a thing. I'm alive.
Yeah.
I was out there.
I woke up today.
And if I
got out
don't
of
go,
bed,
I'll just
and
be
I
like,
went
"Ugh."
on the mic.
yeah.
Yeah.
The universe cares about your growth, not your comfort. I'm telling
Yeah,
myself
Well, that's
that.
a
I'm like
very
crying. I'm
that's a
like-
very pronoia based like thought process. Is like the universe is on your side.
I
It's
would-
conspiring for your betterment.
Yeah.
But I personally, the fuck was I gonna say?
Do you know how many times you're gonna go?
Yeah. What's your
So,
what's your commitment or
It
grind
depends
for?
on what else I have going on, truly, because I try to honor my inner tired demon. If I'm like, okay, I have enough energy in me to go to like, I'm a person who's especially recently, like in things that require rehearsal time. I have a full-time job. I work 4 10-hour days, and then have 3 days off in the week, which is new, and I'm very grateful for that because like that gives me a lot of time to create and be in creative things. So I've been doing a lot of acting and improv lately, and where my rehearsal schedule is, I try to align that with how tired I know I'm going to be. Like I don't oversell my own energy. I have to know, okay,
You're an extrovert, but you still will be like, I need to like stay in the night.
but I'm a
recharge.
human. Like I get tired, so
Yeah.
I have introverted tendencies, like anybody does. Like an introvert has extroverted tendencies. Like yeah, I actually do need to go out to eat for dinner rather than staying home and cooking alone. Like
Yeah.
something about that will jazz me up enough to have a good rest of my week, whatever the case may be. And for me, it's like, yeah, I peopled a lot. I peopled so much this week, and now I need to know people. I need my cat on my chest tonight with a hoodie on, watching whatever other new stand-up special just came out, because I need to watch someone else work so that I stay interested. Yeah.
Yeah, I think sometimes I'll look at the week, and now that things are getting booked, it kind of makes it a little bit easier to. But I'll look at the week, and I will definitely like carve out time to just. I feel like if I don't have like a day to just bed rot or couch rot, like my week feels like I'm very spoiled in that way. Like I definitely like to have like a day. I feel like if I haven't had one of the, I'm more of an introvert. I'm like a INFJ. It's like the rare introvert where like I seem like I'm extra. I know.
Such a precious moment.
I'm gonna brag on myself anytime. I am better. No, I'm just kidding. It seems they seem very extroverted, but they are introverted. I've flipped a coin before
No way.
going out.
To
To
go?
go to open mics. Yeah, that started with open mics, and then I started doing it for a lot of things.
Like more, was it one particular open mic or was it like more times than one?
Head means you head out. Tails mean you sit your butt down and you stay home.
And then afterwards, you're just like, okay, you're like, it was left up to chance, and you don't go like,
I've gone crazy a couple times, and
Yeah,
I've
I would go
overridden
crazy
it. I
after.
overrode it, and
Like,
then
the
I ended
coin's
up.
not-
I think that's so funny.
And then I destroyed when I overrode it, and I was like, I can't trust this coin anymore.
Oh, God.
It doesn't know.
I have to be able to make a decision. Like,
Yeah,
I'm like, I can't leave anything up to fate. I'm like, no, I made this happen.
Me too. But then I'll second guess my decisions like all through the night.
My therapist
I
told
should
me
be
something
here.
like very helpful for decision making to differentiate between instinct and insecurity. And this might not be true, but what she said is instinct shows up as a statement and insecurity shows up as a question usually. So your instinct will be like, I'm not going to go tonight. You know, it's fine. And then
Versus,
your insecurity
am I
is like,
gonna go tonight?
are you going to fuck? Is this going to fuck up everything in your whole career? Are you going to miss all these opportunities? And you're like, oh, well, that's insecurity. So if your instinct is, I'm going to go tonight, it's fine. And then your insecurity is like, but what if am I going to fuck up? You know, am I going to bomb?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I try to like, also leaning into the discomfort of it all. I really have this corny, but like
important.
you learn every
That's
time.
where the stretch is. That's where like all the growth and excitement happens. But I think for me there is a point where it's like so much discomfort that I start to become unraveled, and like it affects the people around me negatively. So it's like try to like stay uncomfortable, but like throttle that in such a way where it's not,
It's such a
doesn't get out of hand.
tightrope walk of
Yeah.
like giving yourself grace, but also not letting yourself sit in the stickiness of like being comfortable, because
Yeah.
it just gets
Yeah.
sticky. Like the deflated girl on the drug commercial. Like you
Yeah.
start to
Oh my God.
feel like that. Instead, you're like,
Truly.
all right, I need to like get up. I need to just push through this insecurity. And if I bomb, this is a blip on the radar.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
right before I go up, I tell myself in my head, I'm like, no matter what happens, you're gonna leave here really happy that you came here, and it's gonna be
Yeah.
over in 5
Right.
minutes. Like, it
I like-
Because
doesn't
you
matter.
have that
blip.
daunting thing, if that's how you're feeling, of like, I don't, nothing matters. And I've had moments where I felt like that all day, but I still was coming out because I already committed to it that week in
Yeah.
my brain.
Commitment's
based on my
everything for
schedule.
me. 'Cause
Right.
I never feel like it
Oh, really?
before. Never.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Never.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man,
no.
I'm fucking 44.
I-
I didn't feel like going out. This is insane.
I usually try to know what my week's gonna look like. I definitely wake up on the day of knowing I'm going out tonight.
Yes.
I know I want to work on this
Yeah.
one thing, and I want to see. I at least come out to watch other people, and
Yeah.
because I'm already going, I kind of have to go up in my
Yeah.
own brain.
Yeah.
But there are times where like I'm like nothing matters, and right before I go on, I go, oh my god. Nothing matters. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And
That's
like
the best.
it changes.
Yeah.
The way I feel like going on.
Yeah.
For me, I'm an overthinker. So like for people, like sometimes it depends on where like when I'm depressed, nothing matters is a bad place to think
Absolutely.
about. But when you are like,
but those same words can save
they
you.
can save you.
Right. They can be those
Yeah.
same words can be like antagonistic or
good.
encouraging to
Mm-hmm.
I'll be getting ready to go to the open mic, which is crazy because actually I like this is the most I've dressed up to be here in a long time. But I will be like, this is the last thing that this matters the least is what you look like. Like I'll be stressing over stuff like, what am I gonna wear? And I'll be like, this matters the least. Go there and be funny, you know? Like
Yeah.
so,
Also, no one
Yeah.
else cares as much as you do.
no, I know. I think I'm
Yeah.
the center of the
No one
universe.
else. No, well, I
Yeah.
mean, just
You
like
know what I
that's
mean?
just
That's like that's
light.
all the comics are like. So when I did my joke, did you guys think? It's like nobody fucking hurt. Like everybody, it's just there's so much going on. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
my
true.
own person,
We-
and
we
I'm
do
still
listen,
reeling over
but-
the fact that I bombed.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? Did I see? What do you mean?
yeah.
How dare you? This is an open mic. This is not a gig. I'm not watching you.
It's funny because when I do well, I will find myself being way more complimentary, and then people will respond back like, "Yeah, and you did great too." And I'm like, I swear that wasn't why
Yeah.
I
You
said
don't-
that, but
Yeah.
Like, also-
you know.
That's the other thing within this environment. I think I'm not gonna lie. I
The
think
narcissist.
there's a lot of like very sensitive people in
Oh, yeah.
the comedy
Yeah.
The
world.
narcissism's
Which-
real. I don't think it's bad to embrace a little.
No,
of that,
narcissism
you know, like-
No, why are you
part-
pointing to me?
We are at
No,
least
please
a little,
don't word
at least a little bit.
narcissism. I
We're at
didn't-
least a little bit narcissist.
No, like I think